Hello, YouTube. Man, I am so lucky that driver stopped for me. We're not exactly on the stop. The stop is back there, but that's fully my fault. The stop snuck up on me so quick. I mean, I was kind of listening for the voice, but I wasn't really watching out the window. And it's like, next stop, 52nd Street, and I pulled it. But about the time the voice was saying it, we were literally going through the intersection. And I think that's because there's actually a stop at 51st Street. Like, generally speaking, most stops are, at least when you get further out from downtown, most stops are spaced every quarter mile apart. So on the east side of town, you're stopping at even numbered streets. On the odd side of town, you're stopping at, or on the, on the odd side of town, the west side of town. It is the odd side of town. On the west side of town, stopping, generally speaking, at the odd numbered avenues, which each one spaced a quarter mile apart. Anyway, that's that stop. The one time I'm actually getting off of that stop, and I didn't actually get off of that stop. But yeah, when I pulled the thing, we were literally where that SUV is, right there. And so props to that bus. Props to that bus driver for actually letting me off the bus going over the mountain. The next stop's quite a ways up there. So 7:09 a.m. Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. Ex-girlfriend had texted me, as well as her friend who was like blowing up my phone yesterday afternoon when I woke up, and sent cops to my door. Yeah, they had all said they were going to, she had said that well, her friend had sent me a message and said that Priscilla would pick me up from work. Because basically I'm telling them, my biggest issue with having the time to get to let Priscilla in and get her stuff is my biggest issue is that I don't, and this is something that Priscilla apparently never really acknowledged, even though it went on for 8 months, that with my work schedule, which is 10 hours a day, that's a long work schedule. I mean, it's actually 10 and a half hours counting the lunch hour. Doing physical labor, like that's a pretty hardcore work schedule anyway. But then to add a long bus commute onto it, and it basically translates into, by the time I get home, I go to sleep. And by the time I wake up, I'm out the door to catch a bus and go to work. There's really not much leeway in between. So yeah, sorry. I don't have a lot of time to deal with your shit. That's why I told you needed to get your shit out before the end of the month. So, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for her because I've been literally asking her to get her shit out of my place. Well, I asked her never to bring her shit to my place. I've been telling her since she started putting her stuff in my place, hey, I don't want your stuff in my place. Like, if you want to crash here, that's fine. And crash here till you get your own place. And she said she was going to get her place in a couple of weeks when she moved in like 3 freaking years ago. So, yeah, it's, boned out stolen bicycle. So sad. Anyway, yeah, it's, anyway, so, yeah, she said she was going to pick me up after I got off work, but I damn near missed the bus because of it. Anyway, so question, what the hell am I doing at Circle K at 52nd Street in McDowell? I'm getting my sip. Oh my God, that diesel Jetta smells nasty. Yeah, I'm getting my Sip and Save drink. That's what I'm doing. And I'm gonna satisfy a little curiosity as well. And I feel a little stalkerish for this, but anyway. Yeah. So anyway, I was riding the McDowell bus. This was not my original plan. My original plan was just to take my usual route home. However, when I got off the bus, when I got off the rapid bus, ran into a buddy of mine that I used to work with, who I hadn't seen in several months, and then lately I've noticed we ride the light rail together. He gets out earlier than I do, and he's actually working at a different Amazon warehouse. He transferred to a different Amazon warehouse that is really close to the one I work at. I think it's PHX7, and he takes the Van Buren bus, and usually his Van Buren bus arrives, the Route 3 arrives to get him to the light rail at pretty much the same time that my I-10 West Rapid arrived to get me. Oh look, feet. Yikes. Anyway, so it's so we usually end up like riding the light rail together. And I think he actually works like down in, actually lives like in Mesa or Tempe, but yeah, we end up riding the light rail together until I get off at 44th Street, and usually just talking shop. You know, it's like, hey, what are things like at GYR3? Yeah, what's it like over there, PHX7? You know, boring Amazon warehouse worker talk. But anyway, ran into him. And he's like, hey, there's a bad light rail accident, and the light rail eastbound is not running. And he's trying to figure out what, you know, he's like, I don't even know what bus to get on to get down to Tempe. And anyway, I was just, I hope, I Googled, yeah, I trust his word. And I saw like 5 other people like doing the same frantic dash trying to figure out, what bus do we get on? There's no train coming. Although, once I got on a bus, I Googled it, and I couldn't find anything. And I also went to the Valley Metro, app to the notices to see if maybe they put up a notice about it, and I couldn't find anything. But who knows? It could be somebody was crying wolf, and the light rail's running just fine, and we all like dispersed like idiots. But I don't know. There's just been so many issues with the train, especially after last Friday and getting booted off the train at Central and Camelback, and realizing just how fragile our train system is, because it's located on the streets. It's not grade separated from Phoenix roads that people drive on like shit. So yeah, it seemed more likely than not. It's like, I should get myself on a bus. Did not make the most brilliant decision as to what bus to get on. I walked across from First Avenue on Van Buren over to First Street and walked north. Figured probably my best bet at that point would be to take the Route 0 north to McDowell and just come the rest of the way on the McDowell bus. But when I got there, right as I was approaching the stop, a Route 8 pulled up. And I kind of ran and almost missed it, but I ran and waved, and she's like, well, you know this is 7th Avenue bus. I'm like, yeah, it's the Route 8. I ride the buses all the time. And she looked at me like I'm the idiot. And then I realized I was the idiot, because for some reason I was thinking 7th Street bus. And I was thinking, okay, well, that'll just it'll go up to McDowell via 7th Street rather than go up Central, whatever. I'm on a bus now, rather be on a bus now than a bus later. And come to find out, it's like, oh yeah, 7th Avenue, that's going the opposite direction. Whoops. And so yeah, that's some time I don't get back. I don't know that I've ever rode that one before, but yeah, she went up Central to Fillmore, then took Fillmore to 7th Avenue, which is like those lights and stop signs take it. That's a half mile that's a half mile that takes a while. Once you got on 7th Avenue, not so bad. But damn near missed my transfer to the 17, and I'm like, yeah, well, I went out of my way and wasted time, but you know, whatever. At least I managed to stay in some air conditioning, and that's always a good thing. Anyway, right on the 17, that 17 was actually running early, so quite a few stops to catch up with the schedule, which I'm completely fine with. That beats the shit out of a late bus any day. Took advantage of the time, worked on trying to get some more videos uploaded and some more descriptions done on my videos. I'm kind of a little behind on that because life's been coming at me fast the last few days, to put it mildly. But you know, I didn't even mention work at Amazon today. Work at Amazon was great. I just want to throw that out there. Work at Amazon today was great. Yesterday, and yesterday was just so stressed about the whole, because Priscilla finally started messaging, and there's the limbo of not knowing when she's coming back, and being in very just the whole tension surrounding that, and then the whole tension surrounding what the hell is going on with my investigation regarding my forklift accident, incident, whatever you want to call it, and one of the drivers that I work with, it's always really, really cool to me. Like, before I was ever a forklift driver, I had kind of begun to get known throughout the warehouse, at least on the the central area of the warehouse, as the pallet guy. It's because I would even go into other departments, and anytime I'd bring something to another department, I'd be like, hey, let me grab your pallets. And when people would bring wood pallets from other departments to the wood pallet loading zone, I'd generally be there stacking them, sorting them, and I'd kind of direct people where to bring their stuff. And it'd be funny, even when management would be bringing in pallets, like they're taking their direction from me because I'm the pallet guy. And I kind of just changed, like I literally invented and then a couple times over reinvented the way that whole procedure is done. And management just kind of let me run with it because I really put a lot into it, and it worked well. And then of course once I became a forklift driver, I mean, I took that one step farther. Although then I started working in outbound and decided that I really enjoy unloading totes more. But anyway, when I came in, I just kind of went back to being the pallet guy. I mean, that's the first thing when I walked in, they're like, "Hey, you want to do pallets?" And I'm thinking, I got jeans on. I'm actually, yeah, that would be enjoyable. And kind of, it wasn't so busy that I needed to be doing pallets nonstop, and it wasn't. It was slow enough that like the forklift drivers were able to put more focus on the pallets as well. So, and if I was a forklift driver, I'd have probably been bored and doing other stuff anyway. I mean, there came a point where a couple of forklift drivers were out being water spiders, and I'm like, whoa, you're water spider now? He's like, dude, I'm just fucking bored. I was like, oh, okay, got it. So it ended up being one of those days. Like, it can be a slow day. I stay busy. I mean, it's just kind of my work ethic. Like, I'm the kind of guy that there's always, even no matter how slow it is, there's work to be done. It's just, kind of finding it. And so consequently, I just was just drifting all over inbound the whole night, and kind of putting out fires, fixing other people's mistakes, just whatnot. Anyway, it was just an enjoyable day. It was kind of neat. Like when I'm in that mode, it kind of reminds me of that time when I got when Derek, the guy I used to refer to as Africa No Bottoms, had first come in and started being all micromanagement, and he kind of tried to micromanage me. And one time I just wasn't having it, and I turned to him and I'm like, hey, I got to tell you a secret. He goes, what? So whenever you see me pulling a pallet jack, I'm secretly running this whole department. and to a certain point in my head, I kind of felt like I was, and not so much that I was, but I was certainly running myself and giving pointers to everybody along the way, and kind of keep in touch on what's going on. I would open and close gates, and I didn't do as much of that because there's a little more people putting effort into that these days than there was those days. But I certainly was completely directing myself, and all the management that was in there was like you're great. Keep doing what you're doing, Dan. This is great. But yeah, I'd say it's it's hard to ratio out how much time I spent, time I spent throwing on the line, and how much time I just spent just general kind of organizing stuff and moving pallets and bringing product out, and sometimes I'm seeing stuff that other people started on and then didn't finish because this is difficult. And I enjoy the difficult tasks. I mean, one of them, and it seems menial as hell, but hey, thrills and spills of working in a warehouse. One of them was this pallet of wash rags. Right? How boring is that? Right? They're made in Pakistan, though. Genuine Pakistani wash rags. And this pallet had just, I don't know what the hell happened to it in transit, and what all that thing endured before getting to me, where I found it on PID 5 or whatever line it was on. I think it was on PID 5. but the boxes were just trashed and ripped over. Now, all the products seemed fine. Product inside seemed actually absolutely fine. I don't know how many packs of wash rags, in a plastic bag. Like I said, pretty boring product. But yeah, it was. At first, I thought that it was like a mixed pallet of just these loose packages and then boxes, and then I realized, oh no, these boxes have disintegrated so bad that all this loose stuff is just stuff that has fallen out of the boxes. So I ended up starting another pallet, and all the ones that were just completely loose, kind of making a pile of those. And then at one point I realized as I was started to move boxes, and they just disintegrated in my hands, and then I had more loose product. I ended up making kind of a pile of that, which is fine. Like there's these two women that kind of work as a team, and they've been there longer than I have. And I should know their names by now. I really shouldn't. I don't. I call them the damaged ladies. Not damaged ladies, because they're not damaged at all. They're actually quite excellent. But they handle the damaged product, which isn't all necessarily damaged product. It could just mean that the box that the product came in is damaged, and then consequently the product needs to be processed differently. Extra steps, and I don't know. What they do seems, for what it is, it seems kind of complicated, and I really don't know the essence of it. But I do know when something needs to go to them. And generally speaking, there's a little empty pallet on every line that's labeled damages, and that's where that stuff goes. But every now and then, there's something that's just such a disaster that it just has to. I just grab a pallet jack and I bring a whole pallet. It's like, hey, have fun with this, ladies. And that was one of those situations. Now, there were some boxes. There was not a single box on that pallet of wash rags. It was not screwed. Not a single one. Now, there were some that didn't have the wash rags falling out of them yet. And as long as I had good reason to believe that it still had the quantity of wash rags in the box that was supposed to be in the box, and I'll be honest, I didn't count them. But if it looked like nothing had fallen out of the rips in the box yet, yeah, I rebuilt the boxes. And then I realized that these things were so damaged that the labels on them that get them through the automation were also screwed. So I ended up having to take one of the labels that was just barely hanging onto the box by a corner over to one of the problem solvers. I'm not bringing these boxes. They're huge, and they're just so much work to tape them up. I'm not about bringing huge boxes over to where the problem solvers work, over closer to the docks. But yeah, I ended up bringing that label. There's one problem solver I kept going to quite a bit tonight, because I'm when I'm throwing, I find stuff that isn't right, and I fix it. A lot of the guys, and that's something I've kind of missed about being a line loader, and something that I think that the management has missed about me being on the line as a line loader, is that I have a really good eye for this isn't right. And I'm pretty attentive at checking every single box I put on the conveyor belt thoroughly to make sure that it's right. And yeah, sometimes they're missing their labels. I catch it. I generally always catch it. I don't throw it. I had to deal with some other guy's mistake. Threw an entire pallet of something that had no labels on it whatsoever, and people at the other end of the conveyors were just all up in arms about it. And they ended up stopping the whole line. And some of them had already gone up in the air and beyond where I could do anything about it. And yeah, sorry, man. Sorry to make you guys work so much, but that's why you guys have your jobs. It's time to start manually sorting. Sorry, some people don't pay attention down here. But yeah, when they froze the line, one of the managers I forget his name. I've been dealing with him quite a bit the last few days since I've not been on the forklift, and he seems to really, it's like wow, it's good to have you actually back on this side of the docks. But yeah, he explained what had happened, and I'm like, I got that. And quickly went and grabbed one of the boxes that was unlabeled that was still on the conveyor, and took it to the same problem solver. Told her what was up. just kind of shaked her head and got me a little label, which I took to the label printer and made a roll of like 50, which I ended up not needing that much, but I figured 50 would probably cover it, and ran up the line and did them and let them know, and threw some of them to the other end of the line was moving and let them know it's like they're good to go. And it was funny, I could still hear some manager upstream, complaining about it, and I told somebody at my end, it's like, hey, I've labeled all the ones that are still here. The ones that are up in the air between here and there are, I mean, they are what they are. They're just gonna have to run the line and deal with it when they get them. And maybe this guy can be retrained or something, or sent to another department so he quits making these mistakes. But anyway, I don't know. It feels good. I like to work. I like to feel needed and valued. So yeah, it was a good day. Anyway, so what am I doing here? I'm getting a drink, wasting time. 7:28. I've got a friend that's supposed to be meeting me at 8 o'clock at my place to help me clean, although I haven't heard from her yet. Priscilla was supposed to pick me up from work. Haven't heard from her yet either. So, yeah, I'm going to get my drink. And then I'm going to walk by where I think Priscilla might be staying. And I'm not shooting video of it because I don't want anybody else stalking her. But I'm going to walk by there just to see if I see her vehicle, because I'm curious. And I'm really crossing my fingers that she didn't just decide, hey, Dan's at work, fuck Dan, let's just break into his place, because that would suck. Although, like I said, she did send the police to my door, so there's surely a record of the incident. And I can bet money that the police are like, apparently he's not here, ma'am, he's not answering the door, we can't knock it down. But I got my stuff in there. Yeah, well, it's a civil matter. This sort of thing happens all the time. I've been there, done that. I've been on the other end of that. Not only with my ex-wife, and I could go on at length about how god-awful that was. And I got court orders. From her, where she was court ordered to give me my stuff back, and she didn't. And the cops did nothing about it. They're like, well, it's a civil matter. You got to take it back to court. And then the judge did nothing about it. Give him his stuff, or I'll tell you to give him his stuff again. That's how that was. But there was this woman that I hooked up with, like right after basically. So after I got out of jail, oh yeah, I'm telling a divorce story again. Someday I'm going to compile all the bits of my divorce stories and try to make one cohesive story out of it in a long ass video. But anyway, someday, maybe, probably never. So, yeah, I had, so, and I know I've told bits and pieces of that out of context, and I don't know if anybody follows that crap, but, I had, when I got out of jail, went through quite a bit, and this is not even where I'm trying to get to, but just trying to set it up. I went through quite a bit to get possession of my house back. And I mean, I had to finagle some stuff in the court and see a couple judges, and then deal with her showing up and the police. And man, I had all my paperwork in order. I had dotted my I's and crossed my T's and had all the paperwork in order. And the cop reviewed it and listened to her side of the story, my side of the story, and told her she needed to go away. And that if she came back, he would be arresting her, because yeah, ma'am, you've got an order of protection against him that says he can't come to your place, but consequently, you can't come here and bother him at his home either. If you're here bugging him, you're the one violating the order. I said, but it's my house. No, right now it's your marital house. It's your house and his house, but it's clearly on all the paperwork we're seeing his residence. That's right, bitch. It's my residence again. Get the fuck out and get the fuck away from my house. Well, the judge did eventually order what needed to be done to my house. The judge said it needed to be sold, and that the money would be held, I don't know, escrow? I don't know much about real estate. I forget what it's called. I think the money had to be held by the realtor. Like it didn't go to either of us. It kind of basically got held until everything was kind of finalized by the court. But anyway, yeah, But yeah, I mean, the house did get sold. Now, I had possession of it up until the time it got sold. And then once it got sold, I had no contingency plan on where I was moving. I didn't have money to move. I just like became instantly homeless. I tried to stay an extra day in the house. That ended up being a bad situation and really pissed off the person. Like the person who had taken legal ownership of the house pretty much was like, dude, it's not your house anymore. You get the fuck out, or I'm gonna send cops here. And I don't know how the hell I pulled it off, but I just ended up meeting some woman that night who I clicked with, who took me home and into her bed. And God, I'm such a slut like that. But anyway, her and I had a pretty amazing little fling that lasted about a week. Thoroughly enjoyed that. That was certainly something I needed after being, you know, separated from the and abandoned by the wife. So it's like, oh wow, already in another woman's bed and got a place to stay. Life is good. And then I went to Phoenix to take care of some stuff. And when I got back to her place, which was all of like a block and a half away from where my house was, she had changed the locks. I knocked on the door, and apparently I was rebound guy. And while I was in Phoenix, she had got back together with her boyfriend, and I needed, and I was not welcome to stay there. And I'm like, I need to get my stuff. And I did call the police, but they pretty much told me straight up when they showed up, hey, we can't make her give you your stuff. If she doesn't choose to let you in, then you're gonna have to just, you know, take her to civil court. And I'm like, oh shit. And she was kind enough to let me in, but I mean, basically, I wasn't able to get everything, but I was basically able to get what I was able to move in, I don't know, 10 minutes-ish. Unfortunately, I was driving a cab. I was still a cab driver back then, and I had my taxi, so yeah, I basically got what I could load in my cab. It was probably 75% of the stuff I had there. I didn't have much stuff there. I didn't have much stuff. I mean, shit, Daniela had stolen damn near everything I owned prior to that point in my life. But yeah, anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is I know how the police, you know, the police are just like, hey, we can't force her to do anything. If she's willing to open the door and let you get your stuff, that's fine. But if she says no, then you're going to have to go to court. So I'm sure that's what they told Priscilla. And if she did actually do something as ridiculous as break into my place while I've been at work, yeah, she's going to be suspect number one. And you better believe I'm calling the police and pressing charges. I don't play. But yeah. Anyway, I better get on with it. Thanks for watching.